I've prepared some great stuff for tonight's show.
Did you sook out on a loud shirt this week because of the abuse you got last week?
I tried another shirt that was really loud, and it was just a little bit tight, and the buttons popped.
That never worried you in the past.
Well, people are watching. And now it's time for Feed the Backs. Here's the titles. Right, welcome to Feed the Backs. Tonight, historic day. That the contracts have been given to the Black Ferns 15s players. And when I heard the news, I could think about players like Melody Robinson and Anna Richards and
Yep.
You know,
Done the yards.
Yeah, and really helped put women's rugby on the map. And now, in a relatively short space of time, there's sort of a real sense of maturity about the game.
Yeah, I think for me, the sit up and wow moment was World Cup in Ireland, full crowd, outstanding game of rugby, and I think the way they've done the contracts is really sensible. Sometimes I think some of these young ITM players give up their jobs or their apprenticeships, and I think that's not sensible. Whereas I think, you know, the ladies being able to keep down their jobs but have an income on top of that so that they can at least be rewarded for the big sacrifices they make. And then insurance and maternity leave, I just think it's a real sensible way to start for first contract. So, you know, to all those Murray Mexteds and Murray Pierces, all those guys that missed out on professional rugby in the men's, you know, this is another moment in our time, 20 odd years later, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Now, also in the news today, the French have named their team to come down to New Zealand in a couple of weeks' time. And there's a few big names coming back into the side, guys like Morgan Parra and Maxime Madar and Wesley Fofana.
Yeah, Madar, you'll remember him for the big JPR Williams. Yeah, well, probably modern people.
JPR Williams. How many people out there remember JPR Williams?
Yeah, well, people should remember JPR.
Yeah.
And because the Wolverine modelled himself on JPR Williams, of course. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you now. Yeah, Bastareaud, he will probably be wanting to make amends for the last time he toured here. But I think that what Brunel is doing is bringing some old heads. It's a hard country to tour. Those guys have had some success against us, so he'll be doing that. You know, we've got a couple of bit of a New Zealand contingent in Weenie Antonio, who's 100 million kilos.
Yeah.
So look, I just hope that they're taking this tour really seriously with the mix of old and new, and really coming down here to compete. So
I think they must be. I mean, we saw when we went up there, not so much just the French test, but also the French Barbarians in our tour up there. And then bringing a Barbarian side down here to play as part of the tour. I think Brunel's done a great job with French rugby. I mean, you remember that they're only one drop kick away from beating Ireland.
Yeah.
And they've come down here with a plan to get ready for the World Cup like everyone else.
Look, I saw a try the other day which made me feel sick because I was in the last game that they played where they beat us in Eden Park. I love the French as a rugby nation. I love the French people. I've been disappointed in past June Test series where they haven't sent their best side. That's all. If they send their best side, they're really hard to play against when they play well. And if they can get down here and get some confidence, it's going to be tough.
Can I ask you your memories of that try from the end of the world? No, come on.
No.
Yes. Where were you?
Every year they say every year it gets mentioned.
Yeah.
The last time we lost at Eden Park, I played, and the last time we drew at Eden Park, I played.
Yeah.
And it was my last game, by the way.
So you were obviously on the right
I
wing.
know
Jonah
Ricardo.
was on the left wing.
I know Ricardo.
They attacked down Jonah's wing and then came back.
Do you have something to throw to?
No, I don't. And then they came back your side. What did you do? I can't remember. I can't remember seeing. I remember Frank Bunce being
I
there.
seriously dislike you at times.
Can you remember what you did? Did you?
It's etched in my memory, Ricardo. I passed it from halfback. Right,
Yeah.
we kicked it downfield.
Yeah, Stephen
They
Bassett to the
attacked
corner.
to the right. Let me finish so
Yeah.
you can get on with something else.
Yeah.
It's the last time the All Blacks lost
I
the
know.
Eden Park. You want me to go through it? So
Yes,
I'm going to go
please.
through it. So shut up.
Yeah.
So they tacked down the right-hand side. I covered across. I tackled into Mac.
Right.
And they scored in my corner and left-hand corner. Now move on to something else.
Why didn't you get up and get it back across?
Move on to something else.
Oh, a bit more effort. Big game this weekend. Before we, while you calm down, let's just look back at the Crusaders and the Hurricanes from the weekend, because they are playing each other this weekend.
Here's Hubbard. Good from Havili. Better from Moanga. Looking for an outside pass. Goodhue with the kick. And Bridge with the slide. What a combination play. It's off the back for Frank. Still they march on. What a rumble this is. And the Blues at the moment don't seem to have an answer. Brent Hall to the left. Brent Hall does it himself. They are ruthless. Absolutely ruthless, this Crusader side.
There's Perinara away for Lousy. Now to Mungarellan. Quick hands required. Lamb. In Lamb still going. And then he goes again. Yeah, there it is for Perinara. Away it goes for Bowden Barrett. Slung wide for Lamb. Lamb looking to stand his man up. And he's done it again. Oh,
Being Lamb in the corner. So
Remember Paul Holmes and Dennis Connor?
Yep. The walkout.
Yep, that's exactly what I felt like doing.
Did it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I honestly couldn't.
You wouldn't mind.
All I can see is like this head and this sort of shirt blending into the chair, which
I thought I'd wear a shirt tonight to sort of show you that this is the sort of shirt that I would wear.
Well, this is the shirt you're wearing.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm just sort of trying to say it's relaxed.
You know, this is not a show about shirts, don't you? This is about rugby, and the Crusaders are playing the Hurricanes. What do you think is going to happen?
Didn't you want to talk about this game that you just showed on television, or are you just going to ignore that game?
Yeah, but I'm using
The
that
Reds.
game.
Oh, that was a segue, was it?
Yeah, so let's talk about the Crusaders Hurricanes. So the Hurricanes have
I don't
got
want to.
Geordie Barrett moving to centre.
Yeah, no, I always thought, I mean, the thing for me about Geordie is I always imagine him as being a 12. First time I saw him play for the Naki, he was a 12. And I just think he's so talented that he can play just about anywhere. Outside centre, I think is really interesting for him. That'll be a really interesting move.
What's the key difference between playing, to the outsider looking at 12 and 13? It's just like one step closer, but what's the difference?
Oh, you got less time and less space. So
at 13?
Yeah, you got less time and less space. Defence is a bit closer. So people with really quick feet and strong, like Sonny, like Ma'a, are really good at 12 because they can evade the quick defence and get us over the advantage line a bit quicker. You just have a little bit more time at centre, a little bit more vision. Good to have good comms because you can help the two guys inside you, the 10 and 12, who are under a little bit more pressure. So, for me, it shows his versatility, and I think he'll be on the bench for the All Blacks to start with. I mean, I've named my side already, my starting 15.
We're going to come to that because the Crusaders, they're missing two. Well, they're missing Crotty and Whitelock, Sam Whitelock,
Yeah, but they're also
two
missing
props.
Yeah, exactly. But I think this is a real key moment for the Crusaders. I think if they're championship material and they win this week, but you got to remember they brought in Ali Alatoa and the oldest man in the world, who's the greatest man in the world, Crockett. I mean, not bad really.
No,
when you think about it. So I think the biggest loss is Whitelock. But for me, if they can get up and win this game, it's a huge confidence builder. I mean, they've come back from death, against the Tars, and then if they can get up this week with, some pretty big injuries to their starting lineup, it shows their depth of character, shows the organisation and their coaching. But it's going to be a big ask because that's a pretty special team they're facing. Although the Canes are starting to suffer from their injuries as well.
And Tim Perry, obviously out the hamstring, which is an unusual injury for a prop.
Yeah, I've never heard of it.
Yeah.
I don't think Richard Lowe had hamstrings.
No.
He just had a neck
and
a body block.
And this is an unusual...
Did you ever have a hamstring?
No.
Never ran fast enough.
No, never ran that quick. But I was just thinking the whole idea of these All Black camps is an unusual... and credit to the Super Rugby coaches who sort of said, well, we just got to get on with it.
Yeah, look, everyone will be disappointed. Steve and the coaching staff will be disappointed. The medical staff and the training staff will be beside themselves. It's not what anyone wanted. It's what everyone feared. But it is what it is. You just got to get on with it. And I thought Scott Robinson handled it really well. He said, could have happened for us. Let's just get on with it. It's just unfortunate this happened for Tim, who hasn't played a test match yet. And he's been not dissimilar to Taifua, who's worked really hard to get there. It's just unfortunate for him that it's going to happen and he possibly could miss his opportunity.
There's a good show here in television for those of you from overseas called The Crowd Goes Wild. And talking about the All Blacks, star presenter James McCaney gave us a bit of a tip on how to pronounce one of the All Black names.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, so you go, Te Toeroa Tahuri o Rangi, he plays halfback behind Aaron Smith and Perenara Takupoe.
You've sat on that all weekend. That is so good.
Yeah, that's how, it's just an easy way of remembering it.
Outstanding.
Very good.
Outstanding.
Very good.
And, for you, all of you overseas, this is a really interesting young man. I think he is a combination of TJ Perenara and Aaron Smith.
I thought you talked about James McCaney.
Oh no, James McCaney's an outstanding.
Yeah, he's interesting
footballer.
as well.
If he wasn't,
The Toira.
Yeah, if he wasn't on your show, he'd probably be still a professional athlete, McCaney. Yeah, but I mean, he's an outstanding young halfback. I think that brought him into the side looking at the future. I think he can be around for a long time. Good pass, good round the base of the scrum, strong, got that cheekiness that you need from a halfback. So, yeah, it's a really good investment.
Talking about cheekiness, I mean, we've had a situation, obviously, in the last 40 games where the Aussie teams haven't beaten the New Zealand teams, and they broke that duck on the weekend when the Waratahs beat the Highlanders. And I saw one of the Waratahs interviewed after the game, and he said, you know what, this is a bit like when we won the Super Rugby competition. We sort of got into form late, and only an Australian could go that many losses and win one game and go, I think we're going to win this whole competition. I think that's a good sign because we need them to have their cockiness.
Yeah, and I think we've reacted with a little bit of arrogance, to be fair, you included, because saying things like, there was, one guy was sent off and they played in 14. And I seriously think that the Waratahs have been knocking on the door, the last few weeks. I think the game against the Crusaders, they were outstanding, but the Crusaders were just better, and coming back from a great point deficit. But I actually think they're playing pretty well. However, I need to see them this week and the week after because, like you say, you've got to back up. But I don't disagree with you about. I love it when the Australians are cocky, and you and I talk about it often. We want a great Bledisloe Cup. We want great
Super Rugby
across
derbies.
the Tasman. Yeah, exactly. So for me, that's all good.
Well, we've got the Chiefs. The Chiefs are playing the Waratahs this weekend, and we've also and the Highlanders are playing the Reds. So we've got some good Trans-Tasman derbies. But the team that has impressed so far this year, I reckon, has been Jaguares. And they took it to the Bulls.
Chanu. Oh, it's a beautiful running off the ball by Orlando. Gets it away to Sanchez, and that is, in fact, Matias Orlando. It was De La Fuente who made the break, and then Orlando with the touchdown after a deft touch from the fly half, Sanchez. Sanchez again burst away by Petty. Good play, the continuity is brilliant. Away by Lozana, and a run-in for the left winger, Cancelliere. Worked out by Landajo Sanchez. He's so deft of hand. Buffelli try. And Buffelli secures his position as the second highest try scorer in the competition.
The emotion again, from the Argentinians.
Yeah, and confidence is an amazing thing. You know, I think that the beginning of the season, we saw the Blues drop a couple of games that they should have won, and all of a sudden you're under pressure. And the opposites happened to the Jaguares. You know, they've won in New Zealand, which I think is great. But what it did is it's just, you know, all that hard work, all that confidence, and especially if you're of Latin blood, confidence is an amazingly powerful tool. And I just think they're just going from strength to strength, and the competition needs it. You know, we've been bagging them for the last few years. It's also really difficult because they're test players, a lot of the players that they have in their super side. But yeah, those, you know, the Jaguares and the Sunwolves of late have been the teams to watch.
I'm just reading some of the questions actually while you're talking, not that I'm not listening.
Do you need my glasses?
Do
you need my glasses?
No.
Ricardo?
Barry Scullion, Irishman living in Palmerston North, and take an interest in a bit more of rugby. Wanting to hear your thoughts on Ronan O'Gara.
Great, courageous, great player, firstly, and great decision to come down and coach.
Yeah, I read that one. Unless it was Robert Johnson. No, it's Ronan O'Gara. And a lot of talk about Ben Lamb. There's a lot of talk
look, Ben, I know Ben really, really well. I had him in the Blues with us.
Sorry, your name's Carl. You know, move on.
Who?
Carl reckons I can't see his name when he types it because I'm blind.
Yeah, but you just got to wear glasses, mate. It's just an ego thing. You've got no hair. You wear horrible shirts. Doesn't matter if you wear glasses. And I can take you shopping to buy a decent pair.
I will never go shopping with you.
So Ben, for me, has always had those glimpses of what he's showing now for 80 minutes. And what's happened is he's gone to the Canes and he's matured and he's playing some great football for 80 minutes. I think that Ben Lamb's a little bit unlucky. If he was a prop showing that form, he would have been in because we're down on props, but we're just really, really strong in the outside backs. And I think that if he continues to show that form, he'll be the next cab off the rank. And I think the challenge to Ben would be keep playing like this, mate. And if you're playing ITM, get in there and play like that there. Really step out and, have a great season. And I think November will be a happy month for you, or October actually, middle of.
And great news today for Carl Tuknawafi, who, I was on Crowd Goes Wild, they were talking about how it's got to 170 kg, gave up the game, got back into the game to get fit and healthy, and now he's been called into the All Blacks.
Maybe you should do that.
What?
Get back into the game.
Back into the game. Healthy. Yeah, well, my suspension's got another 10 years to go, so I can't.
Banned for life from the game.
Another 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, there's just been some great rugby stories this week. Stories that, you can sort of, if you got kids growing up around 12, 13, 14 and they're struggling with it, you can talk about them, Security guard, 175 kilos 4 years ago, now an All Black. How good's that? Jordan Taifua, overlooked, keeps working on his game, keeps working hard and gets selected. So I think it gives a whole lot of people hope. You've got no hope, of course, but it gives a lot of people out there not to give up in any sport, and I think that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, no hope.
No.
Okay. I'll tell you, another group of people that people weren't giving any hope to last year in particular was the Sunwolves. And like the Jaguares, what a season are they having?
And line out Leaches at the front is the target. Tanaka for Michael Little. And he's having an outstanding season. The pick and go after Michael Little's carry is a good one. And then a lucky bounce. Lafayette with the offload. Aidan Parker is under the post. It's wide for Miller. Parker. Tokananga. Trying to keep the play alive there. 24 metres out now. Parker at the line. Long ball. And the offload on the inside. Michael Leach. And what a try for the Sunwolves. Fabulous finish. Well and truly over the 80-minute mark. Lafayette. Tamura. Hayden Parker, the drop goal. Hayden Parker gets the ball through the pace. Hayden Parker. They stole the game at the death. The Sunwolves, what a finish, what a play, and what a player to do it. Hayden Parker.
What a drop goal.
That's why you coach. Yeah, I mean, the amazing thing about that drop goal is that Hayden Parker's left-footed.
You could see he was going to his left arm, and then
exactly.
the defender pushed him to his right.
Yeah, which, the defenders would have studied that sort of stuff. So that's just, I mean, I was questioning, JR, Jamie's and Brownie's reason for coaching because, why would you want to coach the Sunwolves then go straight into the national side? But I spoke to Brownie last week about it, and he said, if we're going to be successful at next year's World Cup, these guys need to understand how to win at the highest level week in, week out. And what we've seen is the team grow. The team grow over the competition. And I think that's outstanding for both coaches, but also for the competition.
And that's what you were talking about with the Jaguares is that, a couple of wins under their belt, that's that sense of self-belief's coming in.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that there's a massive difference between winning and losing, and it's not. It's like 5%. The Jaguares have sorted out their discipline. Last year, I don't know how many yellow cards at the wrong time. They're really taking their opportunities. They're nailing what they're really good at, the set piece, mauling. So for me, it's really important for the Super game that these sides are getting better.
Got a couple of questions here from Lewis Richards. First of all, he's saying, why did Coltman make it over Riccatelli? And secondly, how long would you persist with the special projects? He's talked about Akira Ioane.
Yeah, I think Coltman is a better thrower and scrummager at this stage. I love Ricky Riccatelli. I love his name, firstly.
But he's having a great season.
Italian. Yeah, but he's just recently moved from prop. And so I think, that move, just a bit more technique around his scrummaging and throwing and stuff, and I think he's going to be there or thereabouts. So I think the reason that Coltman's getting in at the moment is probably for being a little bit more stable in that area. And the other one was
Akira.
Yeah, Akira's probably fortunate to be in the side, and he'll be told that no uncertain terms. I mean, he's not available unless there's injuries. I think what they see in Akira, like we all see, and look, I really like Akira, and obviously his brother's world class. They've got a really good family. I played with Eddie in Japan and Sandra. We had Christmas together when the kids were little, so I like the family. And I think that Akira reminds me a lot of Zinzan Brook. And so his upside is huge. He just needs to learn work rate, learn to put his energy into his defence when he needs it, carry the ball a bit harder. But his upside is huge. That's why I think they're going to grab him in and go, listen, we're going to keep working on you, but this isn't going to last forever. So I'd say it's going to be a pretty hard few weeks for him.
Well, they've set him a challenge, haven't they? They've set him a challenge. They're saying, well, look, you're not there, but we're not giving up on you.
Well, he's been pretty good, mate. He's been really good for the Blues. I mean, in some of their losses, I've gone, pre-Sunnybill coming back, I'd go Parsons and both Ioanes. Without them, what would they have done? They've been pretty strong for their franchise. So I think he deserves to be there in this, in this capacity. And so I'm just hoping that he's going to, really grab hold of it and mature pretty quick.
There's a question here from Peter Otten who's saying, Ricardo, did you
look a bit closer?
Did you actually
go wide shot when Ricardo has to look really closely at the?
I said, Ricardo, did you actually ever play rugby? I'm asking as I don't know. And I did play some rugby, but I didn't last that long because I normally got sent off. That's probably
Ricardo was the number 8 at De La Salle College when I was the halfback, and when I made it, he was also the kicker, which I quickly took off him. And you know how bad I was at kicking, so that'll answer that. And then Ricardo played for Otahu and then Marist.
That's enough.
He was probably more famous for getting red carded or yellow carded, and then he went to play in Italy for a place called Casale.
And I stopped there because I got red carded. But anyway,
yeah.
few issues with the referees, who I respect greatly. I think are great people, referees.
It was an authority issue.
Yeah, because it's not just
like when you tried to climb centre.
It's not just the rugby field.
And the police tried to arrest you.
Hey, my mum's watching. Right. Okay, well, can we edit that bit out? This is not live. Now, if you go to allblacks.com, there's a competition to pick your All Blacks starting 15. So, and there's great prizes up for grabs. So now, can you name your All Blacks starting 15? Have you put your entry in?
Yes, I put my entry in yesterday.
Yeah.
And before I name my side, I just want to remind you that Ricardo wanted 5 wingers out there last week. Right? So my side is obviously the 2 guys coming back in the front row. So for me, it'll be Franks and Moody. And our man at 2.
Cody
That's
Taylor.
really Cody Taylor. And then I think Whitelock and Retallick, pretty easy. Kane, Whitelock, Squire, Smith, Barrett, Sonny, Crotty, Ioane, Waisaki Naholo, and Ben Smith.
It's exactly the same team I put in. I put in.
He hasn't put his team.
I
in
had
yet,
put my
and he's
team
going to
in.
put that team in because last week he wanted Ben Smith on the wing, so he is cheating like he does with 4-player.
No, that was exactly the same team I put in this afternoon.
Now the only thing,
are we eligible to win prizes?
No. The only prize I want to do is to beat you.
Well, you can't. You've got the same team.
The only thing, no, you can't pick the same team as me because you can't now, and it's live on Facebook. So the only thing that I was worried about was number 8. So do they go with
Whitelock? Jordan.
I named Whitelock.
Yeah.
No.
Adi
Savia,
Savia.
exactly. Thank you.
You forget his name.
I didn't forget his name. I'm just trying to test you on who you'd pick after. So you're going to go Whitelock, then Tafua.
I tell you
Savia.
what.
So
it's a good point because I talking about Adi Savia, who's been in great form, but it shows. We talk about being man. Matt Todd's a guy who's unlucky to miss out as well.
Yeah, exactly. But what I think you've got with Sevilla is a real impact off the bench.
Yeah, and can cover sort of 7 and 8.
So the only thing that I really was concerned about was whether they'd play Sevilla instead of Whitelock. But I think they will go a little bit more conservative in the first couple of test matches.
Ellie Lambs just said, didn't Ricardo pick Ben Smith at fullback and on both wings?
Yeah, exactly. You see?
He
doesn't even know.
Some people
he doesn't even know what his bench would be.
I'd have a sort of flat wooden bit, and just with the 2 uprights was probably what I'd go for. But I think I like the eyesight and the eyesight. Then it's the memory that goes next. It won't be long. Carl, just back off. So, what's your pick as we finish? Crusaders, Hurricanes. Down there in Christchurch, what do you think is going to happen? Give me a score.
That's really, really hard.
Just take 2 numbers and join them together.
Yeah, no, I'd say at home, the Crusaders drizzling -1 tonight, they win.
Okay. And so we will.
No, you got to.
No, because I don't know anything about rugby.
Yeah, good point.
But we do really enjoy having all the people from overseas, particularly the people from Sunshine Coast and Noosa, telling us how sunny it is there at the moment.
And Ricardo would say your names, but he can't see the computer to say your names.
Thanks very much, Peter and Richard and Bryce. We'll see you next week on Feed the Backs, if we can see you.